Okay, so now that I've inserted the leg gusset, I am going to finish these seams. Now for these ones, I'm going to do a zigzag stitch, and then I'm going to do a mock flat felt seam. You could use an overlocker to do it, or in the directions I also show you how to do like a real flat felt seam. I think on the fabrics that are a little bit thicker, just doing the mock is going to be sufficient. Obviously, it's your choice of what you try to do. I ironed the leg gusset up and the seam allowance up towards the legs. In doing so, I put a few small clips into the seam to help it smooth out along the edge. So before we get started, the first thing I'm going to do is zigzag along each seam of the leg gusset. Okay, now you can see here at the end of the legs, there's going to be part of the seam that is going to be just the leg seam, but I'm going to finish that part also, okay, because of the way that this is. When we do the hem, this part will be folded up, but I'm just going to do the whole thing anyway. So I'm going to start here on one side. Okay, now I'm going to be edge stitching, that's the third word, top stitching the seam allowance from the outside. I'll probably do it from the outside just to make sure I'm nice and straight. What I want to do is along this curve, this tight curve, once again, I want to base that in place. Okay, I'm going to once again start a little bit ways down from where the curve starts. You probably should iron this nice and flat first. I did that a little bit before. I'm going to start here. Okay, and so for this, I'm kind of, with my finger on the underside, I'm pushing the fabric out nice and flat, and holding it with my thumb and my pointer finger to really keep it flat. And you can kind of feel with your fingers as you go, keeping it nice and smooth. Now I'm going to sew this from the top. You can sew it from inside, or you can sew it from the outside, whatever you're most comfortable with. You could baste the whole thing if you want. You could baste this part and pin the rest in place. Whatever's the most comfortable to you. As you can see here on this side, that we should be able to get it nice and smooth. So you want to make sure when you're getting started that this section here, you've got your both leg seams going away from each other so they're not folding over. I'm just going to top stitch these down. Oops. Make sure you switch it. If you had a zigzag stitch, that's not helpful. Okay. Okay, and once again, as I turn and rotate, I'm going to make sure my foot is down. Make sure everything underneath is nice and flat. So push this away and we can take a look at how that went in. Take out the basting stitches. Okay. And from the top, there it is, nice and smooth. Okay. Now I'm going to do the same thing to the other side, and then you can continue on to the steps to add the inseam pockets.